Martin County, Florida, became an official county on August the 5th, 1925, which included the ex-Palm Beach town of Stuart. Stuart's location along the forks of the St. Lucie River has been ideal for commerce, such as fishing, boating, and farming, because of its access to 100 miles of waterways. Even 5 presidents of the United States had vacationed here. Martin County is part of tropical Florida, with 598 square miles of mixed soil types that consist of fine-grained sedimentary rock and shell remnants, dark peaty muck of decaying organic matter, and sandy loam with clay and silt. This soil mixture has supported a thriving flower, citrus, vegetable, and ranching industry for many years. And although Martin County has been known for its highly favorable climate conditions for South Florida, any extreme exposure to warmth or cold would contribute to a crop's success or failure. So in order for the family farms to overcome the risk factors and their distress, they depended on the available methods and treatments for their soil types, insects, diseases, and weather. Historically, Florida was the first state to commercially produce pineapples, and it was in 1895 that Jensen Beach of Martin County became known as the pineapple capital of the world. This pineapple farming industry harvested, packed, and shipped more than 1 million boxes of pineapples each year. The Pineapple Belt, as it was called, from Fort Pierce in St. Lucie County to Jensen Beach in Martin County, was land comprised of pine with very little humus. This soil did not do well for growing most crops except vegetables, oranges, and pineapples. Then a bad freeze descended on the famous Pineapple Belt region in 1895, devastating the small pineapple farms. In 1908 and 1910, 2 big fires spread throughout Jensen Beach, destroying most of the remaining pineapple farms. The pineapple industry finally collapsed in 1920. The financial issues and agricultural difficulties to restore the industry became too great. So the pineapple growers turned the farming effort toward developing and growing other crops, such as vegetables, flowers, and citrus. The famous Indian River citrus belt included Martin County's oranges and grapefruits from the Palm City and Hope Sound areas. These citrus crops were centrally located on land alongside the St. Lucie Canal and were uniquely successful on its sandy loam soil. And because Martin County is part of tropical Florida, farmers also grew tropical fruits such as lemons, mangoes, and guava. Fall and spring tomatoes are also grown in Martin County for the local and northern fresh markets. The county has good land for tomatoes, but these crops must have sufficient drainage and irrigation. The environmental difficulties for these tomato crops are sharp drops in temperature, flooding, insects, and disease. Other similar crops grown as well in the county are eggplant, squash, peppers, cabbage, and beans. The earliest records of commercially grown sod in Florida was from the 1920s, but according to Arthur M. Reed's personal diary from 1880 at the St. John's River Plantation, St. Augustine grass was the first turf grass planted in Florida. Today, Bahia grass, St. Augustine, Bermuda are grown in Martin County as a turf grass for residents, buildings, and residential areas. The sugarcane industry was firmly established during the 1920s around the southeastern shore of Lake Okeechobee and has since become the most valuable row crop in Florida. It was predominantly grown in high organic matter muck soil that is rich in nitrogen, which supports a hardy and potent growth for cane. Although in recent years sugarcane production in Florida made a small decline, it is still regarded as Florida's most valuable field crop making it a major component of the state's agricultural economy today. Beekeepers, known as the apiculture industry, has also made a home in Martin County. Although relatively new to the county, they are important contributors to the state of Florida's honey production industry, as well as for crop pollination. Martin County's poultry farmings raised New Hampshire Reds and Austria Whites, as well as numerous flocks of backyard chickens and turkeys that were also common on most non-poultry farms. The county's moderate climate was a benefit to the growth of healthy flocks, which were chiefly bred for the local market. Today, Indiantown has a sizable facility of egg-producing chickens that supplies the majority of the lower east coast of Florida's food markets with over 10 million dozen eggs per year. Martin County's farming has transformed in many ways from its family beginning of trial and error to a more educated and technological agricultural industry. Industrial farming has grown in the county, and it requires enormous amounts of acreage for its business of mass production of food and livestock. Because of this turn toward corporate farms, smaller county farms eventually go out of business because they no longer can compete or sustain a livelihood.